So through the majority of 2020, you will have probably heard about the great property market crash that is coming. By the end of the year, the property market is going to crash. We're heading to the Great Depression. The end of the world is nigh. All the marketing that you'll have seen by property experts or self-proclaimed property experts out there will have been saying that this is what is going to happen. By the end of the year, the market is going to crash. It was everywhere on the news. It was everywhere in the media. They were all saying the same thing, that during the spring and summer, we are going to experience a crash in the property market by the end of the year. And they all got it wrong. Everybody called it wrong. And how did they call it so drastically wrong? What was it that they made these assumptions based upon that they got so wrong that the market has actually seen a 7.5% on average increase year on year as reported in November. The market has gone up when everybody else was saying it was going down. So where did they get it so wrong? In my opinion, there's a number of different places that they got it wrong. They weren't following the trends. They were looking at the market and basing their projections on emotion and not on logic. They weren't looking at what the market position was going into this situation to establish where we may be in the future. Some guys may have an ulterior motive. They may have had something to sell you, and the ability to sell on the back of fear or a potential crash gave them an opportunity to pitch. But a lot of people just called it completely wrong. Too many people, as a result, if you followed the information that was shared by a lot of these guys in the market during spring and summer of 2020, you'll have missed out on a great opportunity. As we said, the market has grown during this period. There are too many people out there that are missing a glorious summer because they're waiting for a terrible winter that has been predicted. And that has been the case in the property market in 2020. Others called it completely wrong. We had a very contrarian view throughout this process, which we'll talk about why we had that view and why we held that view and why we've posted about that on several different cases. We said very, very early that we did not think the market was going to crash in 2020. We could not see how that was going to happen based on the basic principles of property investment that we teach in the Prosperity Network. Our experiences as property investors and property developers on the front line and in the thick of the action was telling us how the market was reacting, was telling us how buyers and sellers were behaving as a result of the changes in 2020. And based on the basic principles of what we teach in our community, we said very early we did not feel there was going to be a crash in the property market in 2020. In the Prosperity Network, we follow facts, not fear. We base our decisions and our investments and our education on logic and not emotion. So we're a community of very, very active investors of a huge variety of levels of experience and levels of development, levels of strategy from all different backgrounds. And we come together to share our wins and our losses in the property market, but most importantly, we share what we are seeing in the market at that very minute. We are active investors in the market, so we share as a community what it is that we're seeing, and we make our decisions and our investment decisions based on the logical, realistic expectations in that market. Too many people in 2020 have been following people who do not understand the basic market principles, or they maybe have an ulterior motive to pitch. We have no ulterior motive here. We're a community of investors who are following basic principles in and around the property market. So who am I and who are the Prosperity Network? What is our community? So myself personally, we're a large property business owner. Primarily, we've always been in and around property for over a decade now. So we've been involved in well over 1,000 transactions, either as buyer, developer, seller, joint venture partnerships, or handling deals on behalf of our clients in a decade. So we've done over 1,000 deals within a decade. We have a consistent pipeline of property developments of over £25 million. Absolutely obsessed with property, business and learning, and a huge believer in abundance and helping others succeed. I've been in and around the property education industry since around 2010 as both an investor, a developer, an employer, speaker, trainer, mentor. We've taught all over the world property investment. We've seen the seminar industry from all over the world, so we know the good, the bad and the ugly of property investment and education. We're particularly well placed to develop our own community, and we've developed our community based upon everything largely that we disliked in the community prior to that. So things that we didn't like the hard sell, the selling of dreams, all of that effectively helped us to create our community, which wanted to be the complete opposite. And our community now is hundreds of active property investors, new and old, of all sexes, races, religions, everything. We're a huge community, a huge family that come together to share our learnings, but we're very, very active in the property market. So we created a community of education, of support and accountability amongst property investors. That's who we are, that's how we're placed to give you guys some help and advice should you need it. So often property investors like to sell you the sizzle and not the steak. They bombard you with headline figures and attention-grabbing statements, but don't provide you with the detail, the specifics, or the applicable learnings that you need in the property market as a property investor. And especially in 2020, where the market's been crazy, everyone's been behaving a little bit crazily with what's been going on in the world. It's more important than ever to get the right education and support if you want to be a successful property investor in this market. We want to be different. As I've mentioned, we're real world investors. We're real people doing real things from all kinds of backgrounds. Investors brand new to vastly experience, sharing learnings and opportunities, up-to-date education and support that is live in the market today. What we promise you is no hype, no seminars telling you that you can get rich quick. This is a fantastic opportunity as a property investor to make money by doing work, okay? You can make great profits by putting in the effort and the work with the right learning. There's no crazy prices for education, usually that would end in a 7. We're not gonna invite you to a 2-hour webinar where we're gonna pitch to you hard throughout the process. There's no hard sell whatsoever. We believe what we offer is quality. We have proven successes with our subscribers, and we've got great results to show you guys and hopefully share with you guys. It's all based on facts and relevant learnings for you to go out in the property market, regardless of your current position, whether that's financial or in your life, to make money from property in the right way and with the right approach. We are a subscription-based education. Think Netflix over Blockbuster. We effectively give you hundreds of hours of learning where you can learn at your own speed and as many times as you want whilst you're a subscriber, whilst also giving you ongoing support through community calls, mastermind days, and coaching. You pick the level of service that you want, and we can hopefully deliver that to you in the best level. So during 2020 in the Prosperity Network, what have we been teaching? Why is it that our opinion throughout this process, when other people have been saying the market is going to crash, get ready for the Great Depression, get ready, fill your boots because the market's going to fall over, why did we not see that happening? The main reasons are that we follow the basic principles that we teach in the Prosperity Network to our community to establish where we are in the market as a whole. So there are 3 main considerations that we've got as property investors in understanding the market position. They are demand, supply, and your access to finance. These are the 3 main points that we have been considering throughout 2020 to understand where we are in the market. So when it comes to a demand level, are there more buyers in the market now or less buyers than ever in history despite furlough? Things like the stamp duty incentives that came into play in 2020. There are more buyers today than there have ever been. The market is absolutely crazy. It's the busiest we've seen it in probably 10 years in property. Everybody's looking at the furlough situation, what's going to happen, but they're not looking in more detail about who it is that has been furloughed. So do you know where the huge percentage of furloughed jobs are? They're generally in the lower salary range, the salary range of renters, not buyers. It's buyers that the market needs to hold its market price. The buyers currently in the market have not been impacted, or the majority of them have not been furloughed, and they're still looking to buy. So there's still a large majority of buyers and a large majority of demand in the market to keep the market stimulated. If these jobs are to be lost, then these jobs obviously will be easier to recover. It's easier to recover a £16,000 a year job, a £20,000 a year job, than it is a £50,000, £60,000, £70,000 a year job. So those are some of the considerations we've been considering inside the market. The worst case forecast now also for employment is 7.5%. That's been scaled back over time throughout 2020. What a lot of people didn't consider when we went into the market on how is the demand going to be hit, how are people going to lose their jobs, how are they going to buy properties, is what is the position we were coming from. At the point that the pandemic started to hit in March 2020, we were our highest level of employment in history and the strongest employment market for over 50 years in the UK. So we were coming from a position of huge strength. In fact, 7.5%, which is the worst case projections being put out there by the ONS, the Bank of England at the moment, is basically still a lower percentage than in the early 2010s. So 11, 12, there was a higher level of unemployment than the worst case prediction now. And during those periods, the market was growing, okay? So employment has less of an impact on the market when you look at the statistics than actually lending does and the availability of funds. So it's a consideration, but demand in the market going into the pandemic was still at a record high. Throughout the pandemic, it has increased even further. So there's been an incredible level of demand. Basic principles of property investment: if there's a high level of demand and we have a low level of supply, then that is going to hold the prices up. Which brings us to supply. At the moment, there is still significantly less properties on the market than there have been in history, okay? So there's a huge shortage of available housing. We have a massive housing crisis in the UK where we need to build 300,000 houses a year and we're not hitting that target. So consistently demand is growing, supply is staying low, prices are being kept high on that level. So builders in 2020, because a lot of the time they were stopped during the pandemic, they effectively are now behind schedule. They need to build more houses because they're behind on the targets that they had, which is holding supply low whilst demand is high. And the final point is access to finance. So we've got a high level of demand, we've got a low level of supply. The next important thing is, can those people that want to buy, can they get lending? Can they leverage themselves to be able to get mortgages to buy those properties, okay? And that is a really important consideration. In my opinion, this is the biggest influence on what will happen in the property market is what happens with lenders. So if you look at things from a lending consideration, lenders are in a pretty strong position in the market. This isn't a financial crisis, this is a health crisis. So this is very, very different to the last property market crash that we had in 2008 and 2009 going on to 2011. It's different in that the fact there is liquidity in the market. There's a lot of money in the market, there is money available, providing the lenders are happy to lend it. So things like fractional reserve banking has been removed, which basically means the banks can lend more money than they usually would have been able to do. There's more money liquid in the system than ever before. We've heard all about the government pumping more money into the system to keep the economy afloat. So there's actually more money available and more money liquid than ever in history. And interest rates are at an all-time low, lowest they've ever been, okay? Base rate is very low and is likely to stay there for quite a while, which puts a lender in a good position and incentivized indeed to lend money. So we have high demand, low supply, high liquidity of funds. In my opinion, these three things combined are the most important considerations in what have held the market up. This is what has been overlooked consistently throughout 2020 through the media and other educators who potentially have different motives to tell you different things. So lending is going to be one of the most important things moving forward. At the moment, we're in a good position. In the Prosperity Network, our community, we are constantly assessing these things. On our weekly calls, we're always talking about what's happening with lending, what's happening with demand, what's happening with supply, what are we seeing in the market, how quickly have I sold my property, how quickly have one of our subscribers rented their properties. Constantly assessing what's going on in the market to give you live results from the front line, and that is absolutely vital. It's following these facts and the logic that meant our community has continued to learn and has continued to invest throughout the whole of 2020. When others have been scared and intimidated by news and headlines and other information that they've been given, our guys have continued investing When others have been persuaded to follow a supposed guru through the fear of a crash and the fear of what may happen, our guys have continued to follow and achieve a qualified level of support from our community at a low subscription cost. There's no hard sell here. If you want to learn from active property investors, then please check us out. If you want to be part of a community of people who are helping push each other forward in the property market, then please check us out. Whether you're completely new to property or a seasoned investor looking for more knowledge, support and accountability, we believe that we're the best place for you. Please do not waste your money with self-proclaimed gurus or people making huge promises of financial freedom in one deal or just a few days. Stay away from hype. Find yourself a community with great education, great support and factual-based education and information. We hope that that's the Prosperity Network for you. We believe we're a great place for you. Please go and check us out. You've got everything to gain and very little to lose. So check us out on the page and hopefully we'll see you soon.